welcome to this episode. We have looked so much forward to talk to Yvette Taylor from UK, who is an amazing soul and writer and EAM creator, or creator of the EAM method. And you know, when we were tuning in on which authors should we start this podcast with interviewing, it just felt so right to talk to Yvette because, you know, perfect. Yeah. Magical writing is all about energy and all about aligning with the divine inspiration. So who else should we talk with than Yvette, who got this method about aligning with the energy and letting go of blocks and really coming into the flow. So Yvette, we're so grateful to have you here and we love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely just to connect with the two of you again. It's been far too long, but I'm so excited to be part of this as you're taking your beautiful gifts out into the world as well. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
Just a joy, big joy. And you know, I've heard you tell the story about how all of this started. But first of all, we want to see the soul child. Introduce us to the soul child. Let's see her.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful cover.
Wow.
Sacred.
She feels so good. She feels so good.
How old is she?
She's only a month old officially.
Oh.
Officially a month. So, but yeah, she's beautiful, and I'm so proud of this book. So proud of this book. This is the second time you saw my previous version. So I had another book out before called The Ultimate Self-Help Book, which was a rebirth. This is definitely a rebirth of the previous book, and I'm really proud of this one. Really proud of this one. So
it looks amazing, and I read the first book and I loved it, and I can only imagine what this would be like. So I can't wait to hold her in my hands as well and dive in.
Thank you. Yeah.
So for those of our listeners who don't know about the energy alignment method and what it is and how it all started, would you like to tell us a little bit about that journey and how it began? What happened?
Where do I begin with this? Which part of the story to begin with? My journey with energy began over 20 something odd years ago. Well, it began when I was born, same as it did for all of us, but actually consciously knowing and understanding that there was this thing called energy, or that there was this world to be explored, began when I was 17. And I know, probably like so many of us, we begin that journey for ourselves. First of all, you know, you might find a book about spirit, or you know, you might go and have some healing or Reiki or whatever it might be that kind of opens that doorway. And as soon as I discovered that, I just became obsessed. I trained in everything you could think of, learned everything, read every book, studied everything, ended up teaching a lot of different energy healing modalities some 20 odd years ago. Had my own wellbeing center. And then I kind of got sidetracked by life and went into a period of time where I was hiding my true self. I'd spent all of this time doing energy work, and I stepped into more the world of business. And I was helping lots of people do their business, their marketing, helping them with soulful entrepreneurs, so people who are doing something to make a difference. But truthfully, I was masquerading as an online marketer because I was too scared to actually share what was really in my heart, because the story I told myself was, nobody really wants to hear this. You know, nobody really wants to know about this. Everybody just wants the success that we're shown or that we're taught, which is, you know, the car, the house, the money, the holidays. Truth was, I wasn't ready, truthfully. And I know that now. I didn't know that then. And I spent 3 or 4 years helping people to grow their businesses. But what was always missing, or what I'd always end up doing, was the inner work with people, because everything that was going wrong in their life or their business was a problem from an energy perspective. And so they'd come to see me to do their marketing strategy, and what I'd secretly do with people, don't tell anyone, what I'd secretly do was all the inner work and doing energy work with them. And it was the end of 2014. This was my third social media / online business that I'd been building. And I spent the whole of that year, and I remember it clear as day, I kept saying to my business partner at the time, I'm just going to get this built. And once I've done that, I just want to go back to doing my energy work. I'm just going to get this built and I just want to go back to doing my energy work. And I had no idea then what go back to my energy work was. There was just this thing inside of me that was calling me to stop doing what I was doing. But I kept putting all of the practical reasons over the top as to why I couldn't. I just need to finish this and then I will. And that year was also the year that I was creating my little baby boy. So it was 6 weeks before he was due. And my business partner decided that she didn't want to run the business while I was off. She wanted to step off, go and do her own thing. She didn't want to take over caring for the other baby, which was the business. And so everything I'd been working for just disappeared. And so much of me, you know, on the surface, it would have been easy to feel sorry for myself, but actually it was the biggest gift, because there was finally nothing. I had no reason, I had no excuse to actually get on with doing whatever this thing was. And I honestly didn't know what it would look like. And for those who've ever been mums, or perhaps seen other people going through the journey of creating a child, those last few weeks before you give birth are, I'll call it the crazy times, where you just go into this kind of creative nesting mode where you have to resort and organize everything. And I remember my partner at the time, my little boy's dad, coming home from work, and my office was literally, it was a room like this size. My office was literally covered in post-it notes and flip charts, and all I'd been receiving for 3 days straight. When I went to bed, every time I got up, you know, there was a pad next to my bed. I was having to scribble all of these things down. It was like all of a sudden, because I'd created the space, there was nothing else that I was filling my mind with or allowing me to be distracted. All of this insight was just coming together. And some of it were things that I'd spent the previous 14 years teaching, learning, talking about. And there was also so much of it that I had literally no idea where it came from. It wasn't anything I'd seen. It wasn't anything I'd learned. It wasn't anything I'd read. But it was like just this really simple but profound understanding of energy and how simple it actually is. And we make things so complicated. And I think that was one of the things I'd found with many of the different practices I'd taught before. All of them were talking about this thing, you know, often The Secret. All of us have probably seen or heard or talked about The Secret. It was always cloaked as this kind of mystical thing that was out of your reach, or that you had to be some spiritual guru and meditate for 20 hours a day to be able to attain this state. And it truly isn't. It's something that we're in all the time. And actually, it's really simple to work with when you understand how it works and how it's influencing every minute of your life. And so that was really the birth of EAM. 6 weeks later, gave birth to my little boy. And he absolutely grounded me in, I haven't shared this story for such a long time. He grounded me in such a powerful way, because up to that point, it was just me and my partner. And I suppose I was a little bit more reckless about life. I was just like, well, it doesn't matter, does it? I'll just, change what I'm doing. Or it didn't really matter. I didn't have as much compassion for life as I did once he was here. And I remember sitting there holding him, and I was like, whatever I do beyond this point has to be what I'm here for. It has to be what I'm here for, because I'm not prepared. So I'm getting a bit emotional. I am not prepared to take time away from him that isn't for something bigger or better than me or something meaningful.
That's so beautiful.
Time with your little people with the people you love is so precious.
Yeah.
And so that was the promise I made myself. And I think that's probably been one of my biggest intentions. It's been hard because I gave birth to 2 babies all at once. I had no idea what EAM was going to be or what it would become at that point. It was just this thing. It wasn't even called EAM. And so, yeah, about 4 months after he was born, I started sharing it. And it was the first, I just shared it in a Facebook group with a few people that were already in my community from my online marketing stuff. Thought I might get 50, 60 people, and ended up with like 400 people who joined the Facebook group in about 10 days. And I was like, oh, okay. There's something going on here. And every day, literally every day, I wish I'd kept them. Every day I kept getting messages from people like, oh my God, I taught them how to use EAM. It was the first time I'd shared it at a distance, like I wasn't present. Every day it was like, I've just let go of this thing that I've been holding on to for 20 years. I've just let go of this anxiety that I've been taking medication for Like every day over this 2-3 week period, there was so many people just sharing the shifts that they'd had. And I was like, okay, there's something here that I need to do. And that was the beginning of 2015. And now here we are 6 years on. It's a little bit different and a little bit bigger. I never sat there and thought, oh, I know, I'm going to create an energy healing modality. It was never a conscious, I'm going to do this thing. It's been very led, is the easiest way to describe it. It's been very led. It's been a hell of a journey, I won't lie. It's been full on, and obviously still in it. It will be what I'm working on until I'm no longer in this physical body, but that is, I know what I'm here for.
Isn't she beautiful?
She is. You're just I'm getting emotional watching you, and
don't you make me cry. I was like that.
Oh, lovely. It's so lovely, Yvette. It's just a blessing to feel like we're alongside you, it's really,
and it's a surrender. It's a story of surrender as well, and allowing
trust,
the divine inspiration and the love to work through you as who you are, and trust. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
so thank you.
You both know it as well. It can be hard sometimes because, and when you've, how do I word this? When the calling in your heart is so big, and actually someone said to me the other day, they're like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are that EAM can change the world? And it really made me question myself. And it's like, when you know that you've got this thing, and it's not me, I'm not doing it from like, oh, Yvette Taylor's going to save the world. It's not me. It's like, it's coming through me. There's no choice in it. There's no like, oh, I'm choosing to do this. I know it's what I have to do. Yeah. And sometimes that can feel like a really lonely place because when there aren't many people you can say that to without them thinking that your ego's kicking in, and it so isn't. Believe you me, if this was an ego thing, I would be doing something completely different. I would be doing something completely different. But you just have to, pick yourself up and carry on.
It's like the opposite of ego, actually. It's
it is, yeah.
Stepping aside so that it can come through. Yes.
Yeah. And I think many writers who are listening to us here will also be able to recognize themselves in their way, that maybe you are surprised by what you actually signed up for. I think we've all asked God that question, you know, did I really sign up for this? Did I really know how it was to be here?
I don't remember the conversation. You never asked me. What's going on?
But we did somehow on a soul level. I think when we are moved by a spirit like this. So, you know, wow,
that's amazing.
We have so many things we'd love to ask you about.
Questions. So you've spoken about the joy of the moment, and you know, the birth of your son. You know, it's the joy of creating and giving birth. Can we ask you about the other side, the biggest challenges that you faced while you were conceiving and writing and giving birth to this book?
The book. God, wow. The book, well, I shared at the beginning, this is the second version of the book. So the first version of the book was literally 1 kilo in weight. It was huge. It was, the original manuscript was 140,000 words. And I was like, I have to, that's huge. And I was like, I have to get all of this in. It became more like a textbook, like this is this, and this is this, and this is this. And if this is the only thing I ever get out into the world, everybody needs to know this. This is the new Bible. This is what you need to do. And you need to eat it. You know, it was like, I wanted to tell everybody everything. And so what I learned definitely with this book is actually less is more when it comes to delivering your message. People don't necessarily need to know all of the how to, they need to get the essence of it and be reminded. You know, obviously a lot of people who are probably listening to this, they're coming from such a pure space. And I really, really believe that everybody has the answers inside of them already. And that's one of the things that I teach. And whatever your message is, we're simply there to open that doorway and remind people of the power that they have inside them. And so, yes, how-tos are great because people want something tangible and practical. We don't just want the top line, the answer is within you, because we've all heard that so frequently. How do I find it? I do think that's useful, but I didn't need to go into the level of depth that I thought I did. So yeah, the biggest challenge for me was separating what was this is what you really need to know to kind of open things up and piece pieces together without overwhelming people with too much of the technical or the detail. You know, I'm a teacher by heart, so I have to tell everybody everything. I can't stop myself. So it was finding that line between what I would teach on training courses and programs and realizing it didn't all need to be in the book. The book was there to open the doorway for people.
That's beautiful to see the book as a door opener. I love that. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
definitely.
And
it's much more easy. You can pick this up in an airport. The other one would have put you overweight if you picked it up in an airport. So
it was a bit of a Bible.
Yeah, it might have been classed as a weapon, the first one. So
I love it.
So Yvette, when you were in this process, what would you say has been your greatest help or medicine, or what has supported you in the process of writing this book and rewriting it in a way? Have you had any earth angels helping you or other things that have supported you?
Using EAM, definitely. And we all have those moments when you're writing where it's like it flows and then all of a sudden it just seems to stop and you're like, where did that go? I was so in tune, like it's just disappeared. Come back. And I think part of that is just when you're in flow, just let it all roll, just let it come out. Don't edit yourself, don't worry, just flow it all. The editing process comes later, just let it all out. And recognize when sometimes you actually do just need to stop and go and take a break and go and reconnect. And whatever your process is, for me, it's using EAM. Earth angels, definitely. Definitely having other people to go and look back over my flow writing because my flow writing is my message, and definitely needs to be understood. You know, the message needs to be understood. So having people actually challenge you in a nice way, challenging you about what is it you're actually trying to convey here, because you know your message, but the whole purpose of your book is to convey a message. So if the message isn't received, it's, you know, it's not pointless, but that's the purpose of the book. So actually allowing people to ask you the questions, if they're reading part of it and they're not fully, what you're sharing isn't landing, having people to be able to reflect that back so that your message can really be fully unpacked in a powerful way is really important. So yeah, definitely had some earth angels work with me on that as well, to make sure that it was clear and it was understood and it was as simple as possible, because you know, we all have our own language. What's easy for us and what we talk about isn't necessarily the way other people would see it or understand it. So that was a big piece.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's good with the golden mirrors.
Yes,
So,
you need them. That's a vulnerable space, isn't it, when you let others see your soul child for the first time.
Please be nice.
yeah.
So that takes us nicely into our next question. Actually, what's your biggest dream for your new book, for your soul child? Wildest dream.
Wildest dream?
Yeah.
Wildest dream is that everybody has it, that it's, you know, EAM becomes a verb, and that everybody's just I'm EAMing, you know, like I've Googled it, I've EAM'd it. That is my intention, and not for EAM, simply to remind people the power that they have, and that it's that easy. It is that easy. I mean, you've both experienced it yourselves.
It's very powerful.
Fantastic.
It's that easy. You know, you can actually change what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing relatively quickly. And particularly this year, oh my God, particularly watching it, I'm going to try not to make this controversial, but particularly watching everything that's going on right now, and knowing that I believe all human challenges come from a place of fear, just and understandable. But if that fear wasn't there, people would make such different decisions for themselves and their lives and their loved ones and their family, and the outcome would be something that we all actually want. And yet the decisions are being made from that stuck old paradigm place. So for me, the intention is really to help us all shift, and same as the work you're doing, same as we're all doing, to shift the world into the new paradigm, because it's what everybody wants. There isn't a person on the planet who would not want to live in the new paradigm, and yet we're all holding on so desperately to the old by living in it and vibrating in that space. So yeah, for it to become a verb, everyone to just get it. I said this the other day, I wish I could just implant this in people, but I know that's not necessarily the right language at the moment.
Be very careful with that.
Be very careful what I'm saying, but that would be my wish, is that I could literally, if we were going to be making something mass around the planet, but it's this, that would be amazing. That's mine.
It would definitely make our world a much better place, I'm sure. And I must just say, you know, I have had a personal experience with you. I remember standing on an island 2 years ago, and I had a flashback from an earlier life, actually, during one of your exercises. And I had seen myself being actually in a mental hospital and given electroshock because they thought I was mad, because I had some gifts, right? I wasn't mad. I was just gifted. And I recognized that sorrow, and I talked to you about it. And in half an hour or 20 minutes, you took me through EAM. And actually, that was healed, and my soul was, a piece of my soul was kind of brought back to me. And it was so powerful that my husband said, "You have a whole other voice. What has happened to you?" And I felt the strength long time after, and was just in the right time. And I'm so grateful, forever grateful for that experience, Yvette. So I know personally what EAM can do. I know it's not maybe what you always work on, that earlier life thing, but for me, it was what I needed. And so I truly know what this can do in short time. Thank you for
I
that.
remember that too. It was gorgeous. It was such a lovely experience to be, what was it, Tobacco, wasn't it?
Yeah. A little island.
It was right outside the church. It was a very beautiful experience. It was a really beautiful experience. So yeah.
So thank you for that gift.
You're welcome.
So now we will go to a more light version of the side of the interview.
This is when we get to know you a little bit better. Ask silly questions.
Are you prepared?
Are you ready? So if you had a dinner party and you could invite anybody from any realm, this one or another, they can be with us or not with us, whatever. Which 3 people would you invite and why?
How do I answer this simply? It would have to be God / source / universe, whatever label it is that you want to give it. And my opening question would be, what the is going on? Like, just talk, go from the top. Can you explain what this is all about? Because we're all down here trying to figure this out, and you keep giving everyone different stories. Can you just give us one consistent story that applies to everybody, please, so that we know from the top? And can I record this as a podcast?
I love it. That's brilliant. That's the best answer. Forget everybody else. I just want to get
everyone else. Just
one,
go.
yeah.
I'll press play. You talk. We'll all listen. I'll feed you for as long as you need to.
Fabulous.
You know, I'm sure there are some other amazing people I'd love to have dinner with, but that would just make so much sense to me. Just, can you just clarify all of this, please? Because, you know, we all want to be, we're all searching for it. It's just as easy as possible for everyone to find.
I think it might be quite a long dinner party there.
I think it might, but I think I'll keep cooking. I'm a Jamaican, so I can cook for everybody. I'll just feed him. I'll bring my nan around. She can cook.
Give him a good glass of Spanish wine.
Just be fine. You're not going anywhere until you've finished answering the questions.
Answer this, yes.
Truth. Thanks.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. You've given me a laugh. I like that.
So, Yvette, that brings us to the next silly question. Which book would you have wished that you had written? You could choose one. I know you would have written your own, but besides that.
Yeah, I would say I'm very proud of the EAM book, and I think it would be Conversations with God. That was, which ties into what we were just talking about, but that was such a profound book for me. Some 10, 12, I don't even remember when I read it. It was the first non-therapy, because everything I'd been learning was a practical kind of how-to therapeutic book. It was the first non-therapy but spiritual book that wasn't the Bible that I'd read, that I sort of discovered there's this halfway house between religion, you know, and the Bible and God and church and the way that it had always been portrayed. And actually there was this whole other way of being able to access, I'll call it God, but by that I mean universe, energy source, whatever, to access this world that wasn't necessarily tied up in the church and a framework and a structure in the way that many of us had been taught. And it wasn't a therapy, it was just this presence and this being that just weaves throughout everybody's life. So I really loved that book. It opened up another doorway for me. And it ties back to the dinner party as well. So yeah.
It's the same book that started my spiritual path, actually. It's the one that fell on my head in a bookshop, so I'm totally
It fell on your head in a bookshelf. Can we hear a little about it?
It fell on my head in a bookshop. Do you not know the story? Okay, I'll share this story.
I heard you. I've heard, go on, share again.
I went into a bookshop and it was closing down. So there were 5 or 6 books left on the shelf. And this book fell down face first onto the floor. And I picked it up and it was Conversations with God. And I said, I can't read that. It's about God. I don't do God.
Yeah.
I don't do God. So I put it back on the shelf, turned to go, and it fell down again. And it hit me on the head. And then it fell face up on the floor. And it was book 3, which is quite a hefty, you know, it's almost as big as the first book. So it was quite a thump on the head. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to read this book. I was so embarrassed that I just scooped it up and paid for it and ran out of the shop. I didn't want anyone to see that I was reading about God, but I'm so glad I did. It was a very instructional book. It
was an opening.
It was, yeah.
Beautiful.
Goosebumps all over. Wow. Yeah, that's a sign, if ever there is one, getting smacked around the head with the book.
I think the universe was sort of fed up with trying to get through to me in other ways. You know, I was quite obtuse, so we'll just throw a book at her and she'll eventually.
It is always like that though, isn't it? And that, you know, that the signs are always there. It's just often we don't listen, or we choose to ignore it. And when we ignore that calling for too long, the signs just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it will get to the point where it'll pull the rug out from underneath you unless you learn to pay attention before. So yeah, I love that you picked. I don't know what they would have done next if you hadn't taken.
Well, that was my concern. It could have been a piano or something. I'm glad we stopped at the book.
Yeah, would you listen? Yeah. So, Yvette, my dear, it's so lovely to talk to you. But now we're going to be a little awful to you. What would make you blush if people knew about you as a writer?
Two things. One, I swear a lot more than I have in the manuscript for the book. some of the expletives might have been taken out. And the other one would definitely be my grammar. I am very grateful for Grammarly. It's really, and it has really, really helped me because I write in the same way that I talk. And whilst that helps for a very conversational tone, it's not necessarily easy to read. And so actually being able to use Grammarly to help people read what I'm trying to convey in terms of my message after I've flowed it all into place has actually been very powerful. So even though I write a lot, I do use Grammarly. There you go, you've made me blush.
I love Grammarly too, because I'm not
brilliant.
Yes.
And save so much in terms of a proofreader having to go back through and trying to decipher what you are trying to say as well. So it's actually really helped me. I say it doesn't make me blush, but I'm actually very grateful because it's made my message so much clearer because people can understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, and I think in turn, I think it helps with your message to land, because very often I know people can get distracted by a comma not being in the right place rather than actually listening to the message of what you really need to say. Sometimes people are so hooked up on, I'm sure we've all seen them on Facebook, the grammar police, or spelling police. And it's like, can you just skip that missing letter and just read the general gist of what it is? I think that does help. I do think it helps when you are writing.
Yeah. And also lovely that you don't allow yourself to be blocked or stopped, because it's not maybe always the easiest thing. I've heard many writers holding themselves back because, I'm dyslexic or something like that. I don't think you're dyslexic, but for some people it can really block you and hold you back, but everything can be fixed, right? If you just have a message and a voice.
I think the other tool I'd say is really did help in pulling the manuscript out was actually using Google Docs, because they had the voice recognition. So instead of feeling like I had to type everything, I did actually transcribe a lot. I just spoke and then went back and went over it. And that, as another tool, actually really helped me, because if I was writing, I can't write as quickly as I can flow the idea. So it was much better for me to get it all out verbally from my heart and then turn it into something to be read.
Fantastic. That's a very good.
That is a very good
advice.
tip. Yes, I shall
That
take
really
it.
helped.
Yeah.
Really
Me too. Note taken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's the end of our questions. We're not going to put you on the spot anymore.
Only a little bit.
It did make me blush. That doesn't happen often.
That's sweet. Oh. But you know, how can we want to read that?
Read your book. So
No.
how do we do that?
So what I'll do, I'll share the link underneath the video. So it's I should remember, discover. If you come and visit discoveream.com/get the book, on there, if you go and buy it, there'll be links to go and you can buy it on Amazon and all available major bookstores. But if you come back and give us a copy of your receipt, then we'll give you some extra gorgeous gifts and teach you like how to use EAM, how to put it into practice, get a little training video, you get one of the chapters of the book while you're waiting for it as well, and access to some other training so you can really start to put this into practice. And it is coming on Audible as well, which I am so excited about. I've literally just finished recording it last week. Don't have a release date yet, but it's coming out, and I know everybody's got some Audible credits sitting around and not doing anything, so yeah, it's coming out on Audible, which that feels really grown up for me. I don't know why. I just feel like a grown up with it going out. But that for me is a big part of when you asked earlier, what's my big vision? I know I want EAM to reach millions. I know not everyone will end up coming to join, the events or the programs or any of those things, but just knowing that people have even heard the book, for me is a tick. That's like reaching them somehow. So that is, I've wanted that for such a long time, so I'm quite excited.
Congratulations, it's already happening. That's wonderful. Oh, thank you. So I do have one more question, but don't worry, it's not going to make you blush. If there was somebody sitting here who was a writer or wanted to be a writer or was blocked somehow in their writing, what would be the single piece of advice that you would give them?
There are so many. Is let go of the block. So from an EAM perspective, the block is a resistance. It's simply just energy. So it's a thought, it's a belief, it's an emotion, it's something coming up that's preventing you from accessing that higher perspective, that open doorway where the communication is coming through. So EAM would be an amazing tool to be able to help you get reconnected. And I think just give yourself, very practical, just give yourself a break, step away. Don't force yourself. Like if you find yourself forcing yourself, you're pushing against something. And so you have to do the work on releasing whatever it is you're pushing against. Otherwise it will feel like hard work, and that hard work energy will go into the book and it will be felt. So the how you are as you're creating it is just as an important part of what gets communicated. It isn't just the words on the page, it's the energy that goes into it. So just get yourself in the flow state, however you do that when you write.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, I'm going to use EAM to unblock myself.
And for Yvette, next time there's a magic writing retreat here in Alicante that we will have together.
Yes.
We actually have, I think, 2 or 3 of your EAM mentors coming, helping us with working on writing blocks. because I know the power of the AM. And I thought, what could we
That's
use?
great.
And I think that is just
That'd be perfect.
so in alignment with how we work with things. So I totally love your advice here. Do EAM.
Yes.
It's just
Yes,
easy.
it works.
And everything else that's going on, just do EAM. So
Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. No more questions from me. Do you have any more questions?
No, I just want to say thank you, Yvette. Thank you for saying yes to living your soul's calling. Thank you for being such a beautiful presence in our world. And thank you for inspiring all other magical writers here and us. You're such an inspiration.
Both of you also. So thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
See you soon. Yeah. We look forward to have a glass of sangria with you in the sun someday.
Very soon. Very soon.
Make that happen. Right?
It's possible.
So let's send some love to the viewers.
Yeah.
So much love. Thank you.
If you could understand, there's no God raising his hand. All this preaching about sins and hell, a mind game, fear-rooted spell. Believing thoughts are more important than what you feel, leading away from the real. I had come so close, surrender was my only choice. I was filled with love, devoted to truth. I surrendered to my heart, and now I'm riding away. I'm riding away. I'm riding away of love. I'm riding away. I'm riding away. I'm riding the wave of love. No more depression or anxiety. It all belongs to the future and the past. The only real is the moment here and now. A truthful peace that lasts. When I am filled with love, devoted to truth. When I surrender to my heart, I'm riding away. I'm riding away. I'm riding the wave of love. I'm riding away. I'm riding away. I'm riding the wave of I know deep inside I'm taken where I need to be. When devoting myself to the truth, I've got no control, and I don't know where I'm going. I am peaceful in my heart. Right now, this is true. Right now, this is you. Right now, nothing to do. Right now, this is true. Right now, this is you. Right now, nothing to do. But riding away. and down, peaceful in my heart.